Hey Netrunners, so this is hopefully a quick video on how to use the ANR Tourney tracker information the spreadsheet that I use. So as many people aren't used to Excel, I figured I'd do this as it's gotten progressively a little bit more complex. I recorded some videos early on, and I don't know that those were watched too much, but with the super buys coming up and the regionals and everything else, I wanted to make sure that you guys had all the material and help you needed to make your tournament a success. So as you can see here, I'm using version 3.1.7. I don't plan on changing this version unless there are real problems, because I want this to be kind of a steady state during your store championship season and as well moving into the regionals. Now I realize there aren't very many regionals, but for those of you who are running regionals, hopefully this is a valuable video. Okay, so we start off with the information sheet. As you see, I've added a Wayland identity and then BN3 identity. When the honor and profit identities are official and released, I will add those as well. That might be the only change between the store championship and the regional season. All right, so going on. So player list. If you are running a tournament, you're going to start here. So as you can see, I've already entered in 10 names. Up to 256 can be entered. I use the runner IDs and drop-down IDs. These are drop-down menus for those of you who haven't figured that out yet. These are drop-down menus. Once you and then you can do one for the runner as well. Okay. Now on the corp side, it's really very hard to do this, but you can do HB. You can type in HB and then SCE. But being that the corporation is first, it takes a little while to automatically fill from Excel. But if you're here in the runner, you can see A will populate Andromeda. So as long as you've got the first letter is unique amongst the names, it'll populate pretty quick. That's a way to shortcut the entrance of those things. So randomized player list, we're going to say these are already fairly random. I'm just going to copy and then I'm going to paste special. Now I'm using a slightly older, just a little bit older version of Excel here. Hopefully you'll be able to know how to do the paste specials on your version of Excel. Now I'm going to have, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to have Carl and Alex be my super buy. So I will enter in super buy 1, and you need to enter them just so that the program knows that they're different people. Super buy 2. All live players are entered. This is a new feature I put in with 3.7. With this number of players, FFG suggests 4 rounds in a Swiss-only tournament. Now, as your numbers go up, it will show 3 or 4 or 5 rounds in a Swiss-only with cuts or so on and so forth. Okay, hopefully that helps for those of you who don't have access to that material regularly. Okay, so if we go to the standings, these are all random at this point because everybody is tied, so it's randomizing. So that's why you see Super Buy 1 and Super Buy 2 up in the placements. Okay, this is a pairing sheet. We'll come back to this because you've already done your pairings for round 1. You've already randomized. So the first thing, so once you've established the round 1 pairings, you enter in a start time, and it needs to be a number, and you put in the start time, and as the results come in, and it doesn't matter whether folks ran first or were corporate first. It does help you in your thing, but you know, if Carl was a runner, then obviously he was a corp next time. And for these super buys, you do enter in a side. Okay. For regular buys, do not enter in this side. So if this was a regular buy here, Super Buy 2 was a regular buy for Alex, then you would not get a buy here. You'd just enter a win on this drop-down menu and a win on this drop-down menu with no side, because he wasn't a side. So he won't get any corp win. He won't get credit for the runner win or the corp win, but he will get the prestige points. All right, so Alex was the runner first, and these two guys, Carl and Alex, both got a super buy. So you enter in a super buy result for both of them. Okay, that's easy enough. Okay, now as the results come in, you enter in win, Loss. Of course, I win all my games, right? Loss and a win. And then game 2 results. Now, you're restricted to enter in information. If you try to enter it into that second player, it won't help. So that's why I have a timed loss choice, because a timed loss triggers a timed win for the other player, which is 1 prestige point versus 2. So if I got a timed loss in this game, then John would get a timed win. Mark gets a win. Chris gets a win. And Joe gets a win. Okay, so then we have our players. So that is the end of round 1. Now I don't need to enter in a round time. There's an end time in there from a previous save of the file, but you don't need to enter an end time. So then you go back after round 1. You go back and you say, "Oh, here are my standings. Yay!" Okay. Now, if it's a big tournament, you might want to unhide the print pairings sheet. Okay. Now, if you do that, okay, Excel will print all 128 pairings unless you specify differently. Save paper, specify which pages you want to print. Okay. Now, this pulls from the round sheets, as you can see up here in the formula. It pulls from the round sheets. So these won't be populated until you populate the particular round. Okay. Let's go here to print pairings. Okay, and you select which round to print. So if we select round 1, we see that's the pairings for round 1. But if we select round 2, we see nothing. Okay. Now, how do you do pairings? Well, here are your standings. Okay. And it used to be that we would do them from this sheet, but now I've included a true Swiss pairings. So true Swiss pairings are these. Okay. Now, in the first round or two, maybe probably in the second round of anything that has a bye, whether it be a super bye or not, those bye players might move, because if you have people who got swept in that first round, they will be the equivalent of a super bye, or they will be the equivalent of a bye player. Okay, so they'll be shuffled in and amongst those players as well. Now, so you will have to, once you get this is a randomization. It randomizes within groups based on prestige points. You copy. I would paste into round 2, paste special into round 2, and I'm going to paste only values. And here we are. Now, of course, super bye, John doesn't get a super bye in round 2. Super byes only apply to the first round. So this person would become Eric, and this person would become super bye 2. And super bye 2, once you have your byes at the bottom, now you migrate through the first one. Unless John or Eric gets swept, they're going to be out, or unless one player just doesn't win any games, the super bye 1 and super bye 2 are going to be alone at the bottom of the randomization pile. Oh, except I did all that wrong. I pasted it in way too low on the totem pole. So let's go down here to match 1. We got to recopy. Now, because I have to recopy, so the pairings might be different. No, it doesn't look like it. So recopy, paste special, values, boom. Okay. Now I've got that. I've got to change this again, Eric, and then super bye 2. Now, if you're using regular byes, it doesn't apply to super bye 1 and super bye 2 because those are unique names. But if you're using a regular bye where no side is chosen, that bye player has to be the second player. So you always have John versus bye, Eric versus bye, okay? Because that helps the logic here in the win for the migration of the points, but without the corporate or runner wins. I suggest you use table match numbers as you go through, and that's just typing them in whatever number you want to use, whether you use letters or numbers. So we have our results. We have our super bye. You just leave the super bye match alone. You enter in a start time. For this one, it has to be a number again. Okay. Enter in sides, and then once you enter in the one side on one, then you can just do C or R, C with your keyboard. Okay, and then if you try to enter in something in one of those data validations, it won't like you. So Carl gets a win, Anthony gets a win, Mark gets a win, Chris gets a loss because I always win, right? And then John gets a win, and then he gets a sorry, cancel. So he gets a loss, and then once I enter one in one column, then it's easy enough. I'll get a split. Okay, and then there are results. So then because we had these pairings, we can go to our print pairings, and we see that our pairings are matched for round 2. Okay, this sheet you can print off. So once you do that round 2, once you assign the round 2, what I didn't check was to make sure that they didn't have the same opponent. So luckily they didn't. Okay, so we are on to round 3. We go to our we have our round 2 is complete. We go to our standings. We see our standings are pretty good, and no one has lost. So no one has lost all games. So everybody should be out of that Super by Super 1 group. We'll go to our pairings. It's randomized for us. We copy. We go to round 3. We make sure we're in the top matches. We paste special values. We see this, and then we go back to our standings. And this is critical as you get deeper into the thing. You want to go back to your standing and see if they've played the same opponent in this column here. Have they played the same opponent? Well, obviously Superbuy and Superbuy 1 and 2 have played each other, so that's not a big deal. You hope to see that continue. But I have played Chris already, and that's appropriate because we're in the same group, so it would group us together. So you can use, as far as this goes, Fantasy Flight does not, as far as I know, does not specify exactly what to do. So Tobin and Chris need to move. So what happens is I just take Mark and I'll move him down. So I'll move me up here, and I'll move Mark down to Chris. I then look at the standings to make sure that no one has played each other. Great. I go to round 3. I see that that's happening, and then I am sitting there. Round pairings are good, standings are good. I go to print pairings. I can select round 3 so that people know, and I can print this off and post it, and so people know where to go. And this is a fixed amount. This is a fixed number, so make sure these numbers match what you have in your worksheet, or else you'll be very confused. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just numbered a table. Okay, so if you obviously aren't numbering tables, this can be a little confusing. So you go to your round 3 standings. You enter in a start time of 12:05 p.m. That way, the start time is critical, because then that tells the sheet to include the results on this sheet in the calculations. Corp side, corp side, corp side, corp side. Nothing for Superbuy 1, Superbuy 2. We have a win, and all the top players are all going to win now. But then, oops, cancel. So we're going to do loss, and then we're going to do win, loss, loss, win. So Alex is doing quite well. Now, that's done. We go to the standings. Now, because Alex had a super buy, okay, that super buy is giving him a lot of prestige points. So if we look at the strength of schedule, if you want to check this, you can check his strength of schedule. Well, he got super buy 2, so we're in the 3rd round. So super buy 2 will get him 4 prestige per round. So he has 12 prestige. Anthony has 2 prestige, so that's 14, and Carl has 6, so that's 20, and that's where the strength of schedule for Alex comes in big. Carl is the other one with the super buy. Okay, now Carl hasn't defeated his opponents quite as handily as Alex had, so his strength of schedule is actually higher. So Carl's strength of schedule is 32, 12 coming from the super buy. Joe has 8 prestige, so that's 20, and Alex has 12, so that's where the 32 for Carl comes from. Okay, so the strength of the super buy again adds 4 prestige points every round these players play, so their strength of schedule goes up dramatically. Okay, and they both get corp wins for that first round super buy, corp and runner wins. Okay, and that's kind of how the worksheet works. So as you get to round 3, so then we go to the pairings to make round 4. We copy and paste into round 4, paste special values, and there are your things. Now we're going to go back to standings to check the match, and no one has played the same person again. Okay, and you can verify the opponent is different over here in this column, and then you can go ahead and record your results. And we're just going to do that really quickly. So then I can show you the analytics page. So we do this, do that. Again, not entering in anything for the super buy. We'll have Alex win out. Okay, and then loss, and then win, win, loss, win, win, loss, and then win. Okay, so there's our 4 rounds where they've been completed. We have our standings, and maybe more interestingly, we have the top 8 player data. Okay, so we have here are your results. You have Alex. He had 16 total prestige, 34 strength of schedule. He played his corp deck. He owned everyone, right? He played CI, and he got his corp wins, and he got his Andromeda wins. John lost once on each side. I lost twice as the runner. So I had 10 prestige. John had 1. And you can look at the deck counts, decks by faction. I have some pretty pictures here. Game wins by faction. So Criminal and ANR over 1 relative to their breakdown, and then Shaper performed weakly. Has Byroy tend to overperform. Jinteki overperform. And you're welcome to go. And then here's the match win information. Now, this sweep count does include the 2 buys from the super buys, but it doesn't include anything else. Okay. And I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them on Board Game Geek, and I'll see you at a tournament someday. Thanks.